I'm live. Well, motherfucker. Let's get our camera to where it looks a little better. Cool. All right. Um, I was listening to a podcast by Mike Adams right now, and he was talking about a couple interviews and how we're literally getting ready to start facing martial law, and it's I think he's right. We're getting pretty close to being fucked basically, and so it's a good one. That's his update for Friday the what is today, the 16th on Health Ranger Report by Mike Adams. So check that out. But then he started talking about the interview with the doctor and how they were praying about, Christ saving them or God saving us, mankind, from this battle with Satan. And it I don't know. I hate to be one of them people that, question other people's faith and their motives, I guess. And Mike Adams has admitted that he's new to Christianity and he's been studying the Bible, and so that's fine. But what people tend to forget is that, you know, Satan and Jesus and God were in heaven, and there was a war in heaven, and it was based on Satan's plan and Jesus's plan. And Satan wanted to control everybody and make us all do the right thing. And then he wanted the glory, and then Jesus was like, well, let's just let them be a bunch of screw ups, and try to get them to just love you and treat their neighbors right, and I'll pick up the slack. And so Satan was cast down, and we always assumed that he was just stuck here at the center of the earth, in fire and brimstone and all that, which, if you're a thinker, that doesn't make sense. But and then in the Bible, God and Satan are chit chatting about, Job, and, Satan thinks, I think I can break him, give me a shot at him. Kind of like in the police movies, it's like, let me have a crack at him. I'll break him. And so, if if this war in heaven happened before, Adam and Eve and then obviously Job, then Satan is, still in communication with God and Jesus. And a lot of times people forget that the reality of it is there there's not really a war going on for good and evil here on earth. There was a plan. The war took place long before we came here, and and the rules were laid out. Satan lost, and so he can't make us do the right thing. So he's down here trying to screw with us, and Jesus's plan was better because no matter what happens, his plan works. Um, he picks up the tab. His atonement, does the deed. So I kind of sometimes when I hear people talking about, well, when will Christ come and save us from, Satan and the temptation, and it's not about that. It's about um, freedom of choice and free agency and making the right decisions and making the wrong decisions. And if you make the right ones, then Christ's atonement doesn't have to pick up the slack as much for you as people that make the wrong decisions. And then meanwhile, there's Satan out there, tempting us and trying to lead us astray with, many false religions out there, and, and false beliefs and stuff, leading us to think that if we're following a church and we're doing exactly as they say, and we're following all their silly little rules, then aren't we doing what Satan wanted, doing what he wanted us to do, making us do the right thing, and he wants the glory. Well, he gets it on earth, I guess. But when the plan is done, then it goes a different way. That's not what God had in his big plan for us. So people need to stop thinking that this is something that Satan is doing, to hurt us, or that Jesus is going to stop, because it was part of the experiment, I guess is the only way to put it, even though it's a very, simplistic way of saying it when we're talking about deity and righteousness and God and eternity and, all of that. But, it was pretty evident in the War in Heaven that there was kind of like an experiment. It's like, I'm going to, I want him to make them do the right thing. And Jesus is like, no, let's just let him, try to follow the two basic commandments of love thy God and no engraven images and above all else, and then to love thy neighbor and not be a dick. And so it was an experiment, kind of, sort of, and it was all part of a bazillion year plan. It's probably gone on before, and it'll go on again after, you know, we're done here, whatever however long the experiment runs for us. But make no mistake, Jesus is only going to come when it's time. He's not going to come because Satan's pushing the envelope more and more. That was the plan. Test them, tempt them, push them. Let's see if they make the right decision. Because Jesus's plan was they will try to do the right thing, and I will atone for them. So now I guess maybe Satan could sit there and he's like being a dick, because he's like, well, if I really screw things up, then Satan has, then Jesus, has to atone more for them. It's like, oh, please, give me a break. It wasn't that way. And we know that because God talked to Satan about Job, and it was just like damn near like a gentleman's bet. It's like, God's like, you can't break Job. And Satan's like, yeah, I will. Watch, you think he's so special. You'll see. And so, if that's the way it was, then they're in communications. It's not like it's them against those. It's what it is. It's us here on Earth getting a physical body and learning things and trying to do the right thing because we're given, discernment or whatever it is. I mean, human people have been, you know, creating gods since mankind. Because there's something that eats at us and makes us wonder. And it's probably Satan, because he's down here, see? So Satan can go, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You need to build a church. Build it this way. Go after them. Go kill them because they're heathens. They're this color. They're that color. They're up there. They're down there. They're, they're bad. You're good. Go kill them. Like, and if you really think about it, like with all these religions, if your God is telling you to go kill the others because they're evil, then you're getting bad signals from a shitty radio station, because God didn't want that. He doesn't want us killing each other and taking life. He wants us to live and run our course and make bad decisions, learn from them, repent from them, be atoned for them, and move on. And so Satan's always trying to, fuck things up. So when you really wonder why, we've always had this, I don't know, what do you want to call it? This desire to understand God and why are we here and where do we go and what's the purpose and the meaning of life? Well, is that like something within us, like discernment, the Holy Ghost, or is it just Satan because he's right here? Always stirring the pot and trying to get us to do the wrong thing or do something that maybe is not proper. And then over here, he's got plan B. He's like, go to this church and repent and pay tithing and build a big crystal palace and, give all your money to Joel Ilstein so he can buy a new, fucking Lamborghini or Tesla. And then we fall for it, So if you really look at faith, do you need to, would you call it being faithful in God's plan because you give all your money to a false prophet? That's not faith. You have to have faith that Jesus's plan was that for us to exist on earth and to try to not be assholes. And any mistakes we made, he will atone. He didn't give a time frame. It's like, well, you got 6 months to, repent when you fuck up, or I'm not going to atone for you. And it's like, no, he didn't say that. He goes, just try your whole life. Try to be good. Try to love thy neighbor as thyself. Because really, uh, uh, the 10 Commandments, the basic 10, I guess we'll call them, um, what do they say? They say, love God. Well, that was the first one anyway. Um, thou shalt not steal. Well, if you love your neighbor, are you going to steal from him? If you love your neighbor, are you going to sleep with this or her spouse? Are you going to bear false witness? No. You see, all of those go away when you're following the first two. So really, when you look at all this spiritual legalese that man have created, thank you, Satan, to make us think that we're doing stuff wrong, then it was all created by Satan, and so it doesn't affect Jesus one bit if Satan's down here screwing with us, because that's just like he did with Job. He's like, go test him, and whether Job had succeeded or failed, he would have still been forgiven because he would have felt bad. And the atonement would have picked up slack. Hence, Satan loses every fucking time. Satan loses because the atonement is more powerful than Satan's deceit. So there is no war going on. There's just the experiment, the plan, the the moving forward of life for humans until we die, and then we'll meet our maker. And this whole theory of hell, I mean, if you really think about it, Satan was here, and Christ only showed up here on earth when he got when he was born, and then crucified and resurrected, and then he left again. He ascended into heaven. But Satan was cast down. That's that. So this is his domain. So if there's been, man, coming out of the slime or whatever the fuck, and started, making fire with sticks and flint and whatever, however far back you go for your religious concept of mankind, um, we're doing things, and then we're working, and la 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 la, and then all of a sudden Satan pops in, just like in the Garden of Eden, and says, "Here, eat this apple." Wasn't really an apple, but you get it. Here, build this church. Hey, they're evil. Hey, they're black. Hey, they're white. Hey, they're yellow. Hey, they live over there. That's the evil land. See how the trees are different? That's because it's the devil. And so every everything you've read in this Bible, in the scriptures, and all of this stuff would make sense that it was written by man through Satan. And I don't mean to fucking piss everybody off. Hear me out. So, and it was always designed to if you look at the inconsistencies in the Old Testament and the New Testament, the inconsistencies of the stories, like, even in modern day religions, when you know, um, the one religious, well, okay, LDS, because I know that system of religion better than most. Um, you know, the the blacks could not hold the priesthood. Now, not all blacks, because Tongans and a lot of blacks from different parts of the world that were black could hold the priesthood. It was just those from South Africa, because of some curse, because of one of Noah's sons was married to Egyptus, which was a black princess. And so there was interracial stuff going on in Noah's Ark, I guess, too, or whatever. And so, um, do you think God would have done that? God didn't give a shit. God didn't care about blacks or whites or Asians or Mexicans or rich or poor or any of that social class that we have divided people up into. Right? Does he give a flying shit? No. So who does? Well, Satan would. Why? Because it divides us. It makes us fight. It makes us not love our fellow man. Therefore, we start breaking the commandment of loving thy neighbor. And then we get confused. And it's like, one group of people are like, oh, why would they do that to me? And God, why have they forsaken me? And it's like, I haven't forsaken you, you big dummy. There's the plan. Shut up, live, be good. Try to follow those two commandments, just two of them, not like 1,000, just two, and I'll take care of you. You'll be okay. This is a small morsel of time in the eternity. Don't worry about it. But see, Satan can't handle that because his time is limited while we're here to fuck with us. So wouldn't it stand to reason that if anybody was going to write a bunch of false prophecies and write books and so-called scriptures that contradict each other left and right, and had the crusades with the Christians killing the Muslims and the Muslims hating the Americans and the great Satan and Israel, and all this hate has all come from and stemmed from this this Bible written by God? Doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. And if it offends you that I'm thinking outside the box, and most of you want to call that blasphemy, then you're more than welcome to just tune the fuck out right now. But the reality is, it only makes sense if you look at it through different eyes, and you go, well, if God wrote all this, then why is it so full of inconsistencies and darn right hypocrisy? And all of a sudden, these people were good, and then they were bad, and then these people are great, and then they're cursed. And no, we were just living here. It's doing our job, being alive. And the scriptures are full of it, if you can believe any of that. Look at does the lily pad and the frog and the sparrow and all this shit, care about day-to-day life? No, just be alive, love, thank God, and the neighbor, and that's that. So I pretty much always take everything that people call scripture with a grain of salt, probably 3 or 4 grains of salt, because the one person that's always been here from the beginning of time, and people will always tell you that man has always searched for the meaning of life since Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden. They weren't really trying to figure it out because they had just left. They had it all figured out. We've always wanted to know, and who's been there? Who's the one person that's always been here to tell us how it really is? Satan. So he was cast down. He was the one that was saying, start this church. And then you're like, oh, I heard a voice. I started a church. And then then that church amasses a bunch of money because you're being blessed accordingly, to scriptures or whatever. And then it's like all of a sudden it's like, okay, you see those guys over there? They're a false church. Go kill them. God made me do it. And they go kill them. How many times have we heard that? Sociopaths, God made me do it. No, Satan made you do it. So it's food for thought. It's a weekend coming up. Today's Friday. Think about it. Just think about it, because I hear this stuff and all of these talk shows, and I respect the shit out of Mike Adams, and he's very articulate. He comes across with some great stuff about many things, and he knows a lot of people in the he trains with military guys and stuff, and so he's in the loop when it comes to a lot of that stuff. With nutrition, I think he's got a lot of bias, and he's more of a plant-based kind of guy, where I am not. But he's, when it comes to looking at things and going, hey, this fucking end of the world's coming right around the corner, I believe it. I think he's seeing things like Glenn Beck always was able to see things and predict things that were coming. And the caliphate, he was talking about that years before they started after their caliphate. So he could see things. You got Alex Jones that's always been pointing his finger at certain things and go, look at this, look at that. What about this? What about that? And it appears that, now as time has gone by, he was right. And Mike Adams is one of those guys. He's a thinker, and many of us are that way. We just have a harder time getting that point across and saying it in a certain way. So A lot of people will be really fucking mad at me now because I said that maybe a lot of the scriptures were written by Satan and not God. But I'm sorry, you have to think about things because it's your salvation. It's not mine. How you look at religion and how you live your life is 100% up to you, not me. I've got my shit squared away when it comes to God and Jesus, and I'm pretty happy. I've studied a lot, and I feel really good about the way I see things. And 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 if you study enough, you'll realize that even if I'm wrong, no one's going to get so damn mad at me that I'm just going to be kicked to hell because I don't believe in hell. I, I I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me as a father. Raised 6 kids. None of them could screw up bad enough to where I would push them off abyss into a volcano. That's just fucking silly. So, you know, it's up to you to look at things. It's up to you to figure out how to prep and be ready. It's up to you to figure out what kind of diet you're going to eat. It's not up to me. I'll be fine. And so we all need to figure things out. But when I hear these people talking with a very large audience and a small bully pulpit, and they're saying that we were praying and it's about God save us from this war that Satan has waged against us. It's like, well, that's a true statement. Satan has been kind of at war with us since he was kicked to the curb down here, thousands of years ago. But Satan isn't going to stop doing what he's doing, and Jesus isn't going to step in and make him quit until that time is right. And you asking him to stop something that is actually very righteous and pure in God's mind, because we all have to be tempted and run through the refiner's fire. You don't ask the refiner to turn down the heat. It doesn't work. So think about it. Have a great weekend. Everybody go to church, whatever you do. I've got some live podcasts that I've done on Podbeam, trying out their new live app. This is live. I see nobody has joined me, so whatever. Well, there's a 2 there, so somebody's watching. Hey, there you go. It's my buddy, Tone Zone. Have a great weekend, Mark. Hey, you too. Um, how's the audio and everything coming across pretty good? I hope anyway. So you know, think about it and don't be mad at me. This is just, oh, great. Cool. Sounds good. Awesome, dude. Um, have a good weekend, everyone. And don't get mad at me. If I've rubbed you wrong talking about religion, which is one of the subjects we are not supposed to talk about, which in my opinion is just fucking bullshit. We talk about politics. We talk about religion. And we talk about nutrition because those are issues that really affect our lives, unless you want to be in the dark. So this is just my thinking on it. Do some research, and then when you get to the bottom of it, you go, Mark, you're a fucking idiot. Awesome. Send me a note. Say, Mark, you're a fucking idiot. You're wrong. I've heard it my whole life because I've talked to religious people my whole life. I've always been involved in church of some kind, religion of some sort. Even young, I was going to the revivals and all that and questioning people. And a lot of times they're just like, get out of here, you little smart ass punk. It's like, I wanted to know, and I still want to know. And not because I don't believe that I won't find out when I die. I will. Then we'll all know. But it's nice to try to figure it out and grapple with it, because I honestly think that when we're judged, it'll be a pretty simple thing. He'll just go, well, Mark, you tried really hard to figure this shit out. Over here, you were totally wrong. Over here, you did pretty damn good about that. And you worked on things, and you got it, you got it squared away, and you tried to be a good person. And so then once he explains to us, I mean, if you've ever grappled with the situation, it was so hard to figure it out, whether it's work related or math or science, anything. And then finally someone tells you, after you've grappled with it for years, and you're like, oh, damn, that's so easy now that you say that. And you would have never understood it until you grappled with it, tried to figure it out and understand it. And if you think it's blasphemy to do that, then you're really shortchanging yourself and cheating yourself. So, you know, he'll just sit there and go, "Well, Mark, here's why that was so important. Here's why this was not important." And then you'll do the V8. Boom. What the hell? That's so simple. Why didn't you tell me this before I got here? And he's like, "Well, that's why I put the veil over your head, so none of you could remember what happened. Otherwise, it would be like putting a mouse in a maze and then marking the maze with cheese. I don't want that. I wanted you to figure it out, and you did. And now let's go do this, and whatever." So that's when the atonement picks in. It's like I tried and I tried and I tried and I dropped the ball here, but the point guard grabbed it and made a shot. That's Jesus. Or I tried and I tried and I tried and I came up short. So you know, Christ picked up the tab. So that's how I look at it. I have been known to be wrong once or twice in my life. So we'll see. I mean, we won't know until we're all dead. Everyone's dying to try to figure it out. So I'm pretty secure in that. And I don't feel I'm being blasphemous. And I don't feel in any way, shape, or form I'm disrespecting my creator by asking questions and trying to get to the answer of it. And if he really wanted me to know, he wouldn't have took the veil off of me. So let's see. Tone says we're not perfect. I'm counting on that in spite of ourselves. Yeah. We need to make and we will forget. Yeah, I think you're right, buddy. You too. It really is. I mean, well, if there was some kind of magic pixie dust that, God could sprinkle on us to make us perfect, then he would have done it. But before we came here, we were perfect because we lived in his presence. So he's the one that, didn't give us all the memo. He's the one that put like a veil or a hypnotic spell so we don't remember shit from our life before, because if it's eternal, then we were with him before and we will be after. So, I oversimplify things. So he's the one that did that, and there must have been a reason for it. And I think that reason is for us to figure it out, for us to try to grapple through it, just like we do with our kids. It's so much better when our kids, maybe ask you, should I do this or should I do that? And then you go, yeah, give it a try. And instead of having us do it for them, they try it themselves. And when they figure it out, it's like a smile on their face. It's kind of cool. So I think that's what he wants of us. I can't presume any more than that, but it makes sense to me. I'm a simple-minded person, though, so let me shut that off. So I'm a simpleton, and I look at things quite simply, and that gives me comfort because I don't get all fucking bogged down in the micromanaging of the minutia. I just go with the flow. So, okay, now I will wrap it up to Tone and the other two people on here. Have a great weekend. As I always say, enjoy the apocalypse and love you all. And what's today? Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Take care. Bye-bye. In debt. Yes.